Welcome, Jane.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very nice to have you on Stories Behind Strength today. As our listeners, repeated or not, may know, we're telling the stories behind elements of strength. And Jane is very much representing that. And she's going to tell us all about how she came to where she is today, being this very brave and bold and inspiring woman. And I really would love to jump in right into your creation of movement and mindset. And just to start, you inspire women every day in your trainings and you focused on that. Would you like to walk us through your concept? What is movement of mindset and how did you get to that space that you're creating?
Yeah, so I think it'll make more sense if we go back to the beginning. So I started off as a personal trainer in 2019, so just before the pandemic hit. And once the pandemic, hit and I lost all my clients and had to really rebuild things from the beginning from an online perspective, which I hadn't really dove into so much in the past. So when I talked to people and talked to them about like what they were struggling with, and everyone was at home and feeling lonely, and all of these routines that we had built up, everyone lost that. So I came out with an ebook called Movement and Mindset, which was basically a 2-week workout program that you could build out into like a 4-week program and then repeat. But what made it different was that we had the workouts and then we also had journal prompts and meditations to go along with it. So the whole purpose was to just build more online community through fitness and to help people just feel more connected in a time where everyone felt so disconnected and everyone felt so like all over the place and scattered. And once that became in person, it's just what took over my personal training business, which eventually became small group training. I had a lot of clients who were going after the same goal, but then also like dealing with being lonely in such a big city and all those factors. So we started doing small group training, and that has grown into what today is now the Movement and Mindset Studio. We just opened last month. We specialize in small group training, so really similar to one-on-one training, except instead of it being one person with one trainer, 4 people with one trainer. So you really get that community built into the workout.
Yeah, I've been to this space and it's so cool. It's so considerate. And the fact that you also next to, it's not just a gym, it also has that community space and that well thought out story piece to where you talk about what happens in the month to actually bring people together. And it's just wonderful. I want to ask you, what do you want your guests to believe in?
I have found with so many people, especially women, that the gym is such an uncomfortable space to walk into on day one. And I've heard from so many of my clients when they come into the gym, they get a trainer because they're like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't really belong here. I don't really have a space where I'm welcomed in the gym. And so what I want people to believe is like, you do belong here. This space is built for you. And, you can go into a bunch of different fitness spaces, and you may not feel comfortable at any of them, but this one is definitely built with you in mind. There's such a large amount of women who have gone through that, and so we wanted to build something for those people.
I totally see that, and also from everybody who I've had the pleasure of meeting, it's very much women who already believe in themselves and, who just want to strengthen that sense of community and that sense of confidence and, get better on a continual basis. You were represented on a Canvas article and you said women's fitness on any platform, there you're met with the myths, clickbait and videos that only focus on aesthetics. Do you want to expand on that comment and what is important to you to say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think like fitness in general often only prioritizes, especially for like younger women, what you look like, and that is a lot of people's like first step in the door. That was my first foot in the door for fitness, was that I wanted to change the way that I looked. I wanted to look a certain way. And so I started working out, and I think that a lot of people start off that way. But when we only focus on that, we miss all the other amazing parts of strength training and fitness in general, not just like all of the health reasons. And, starting young helps you live a longer and more fuller life. It helps you avoid disease later on in your life, but also the mental aspect. I think that You know, I remember growing up, my mom would always say that the first few years after college were the hardest years of your life. And I never believed her until I was going through it. And then I was like, this is the hardest years of my life. You don't really know what you're doing. You feel really lost. It can feel really lonely. Maybe you're moving to a big city or starting your first like real job. There's a lot of different things going on. And during that time in my life, fitness was the only thing that grounded me. And it was through that routine that I felt like I just had something that I could fall back on and had something that I could rely on and remind myself like I am strong. And, you know, you overcome challenges in the gym. Like there's just so many benefits to it. And I think it's really sad that in women's fitness, we really only focus on like growing your glutes, you know, and like there's not a lot more going on in women's fitness. So that's something that we really wanted to focus on because also a lot of people don't have that goal. I think sometimes people think that they need to have a physical goal start working out, or again, it's where they start, and then after a couple months in, their goal can kind of expand. It's totally okay to have a physical goal. I think it is good to have a physical goal and a mental goal alongside each other so that you can get like all aspects of fitness. And on the days where maybe it's not the most body positive day mentally, you still have other things that you're working out for and other things that you can keep in mind.
Oh, I love that. What is a mental goal for you?
Yeah, for me, it's my mental health. Like I genuinely feel a difference in, I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I genuinely feel a difference in those when I am in a consistent workout routine versus when I'm totally out of my routine. So just keeping that in mind and knowing that like I'm going to have a better, more focused and grounded day if I'm working out is something that really keeps me going.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I so much agree. And I think the mental and the body, like Newton separated those two because he couldn't explain the energy and the mind. And so he was like, we're just gonna, you know, like leave the energy and the mind. Let's leave that to the religion. That was what he said. And that kind of started out this like very much separatedness of mind and body. And it's just, you know, we find out that that's just not very true. It sounds like you had a lot of a development with your own body image and your own self-understanding. Do you want to take us back to like when did that start and how did that develop? And now, you know, being an owner but also a trainer, you know, I suppose there's a lot of stages that happen there.
Yeah, definitely. I grew up as a dancer, so grew up very much the whole focus is on the way that you look, especially in any type of like performing arts. I actually went to college for musical theater and acting, so I was in the performing arts for a long time, and that was one of the biggest reasons that I decided really not to continue on with it because I felt like I was so in my head all the time and I was so obsessive over the way that I looked, and I was putting a lot of my self-value in the way that other people perceived me and whether or not I was like right for a role or like looked the right way. And, you know, I think growing up in that, there's a lot of positives that come about it. And I'm so grateful for everything that I've done and all the opportunities I've had. But it also, I think, highlights a lot of things that if you were to play another sport or if you were to do other hobbies, you don't necessarily have those same things highlighted. So that was definitely like a big downer on my own confidence. So when I got to college, about halfway through, I decided that I really didn't want to continue with it, but I was so far through my degree. And so I was like, you know, let me finish this, try it out, see how it goes. But when I stepped away from that was really when I noticed how much that performing was affecting my own body image and my mental health. So the entire time I was working out, but when I had first gotten out of college, that's when I really shifted my reason for working out. And I was working out more so just to stay in a routine and to feel healthy and strong and more grounded. And as I was getting stronger, the more like I think I was happy with my body. And honestly, like, not a lot had changed. Like my clothes still fit me the same. I don't think I really looked any different. But I felt so different and I felt so much more confident in what I was doing and just everything in my day-to-day life. So that's really like where I felt the shift for me. And it was really just because I was putting more focus on the way that I felt instead of the way that I looked or how other people perceived the way that I looked.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And going through that change, everybody starts, or as women, we don't start hating our bodies, but we learn it somewhere along the lines, whether that is through performance dance, I also had that, or just through societal norms or today's social media, right? Like we start to compare ourselves or be compared to other people that are either not realistic or what we now know very unhealthy because their bone density is so low. And so I think understanding that the reason to work out can just be, I want to feel a bit better about myself today, but not because I look better, rather just because I feel in my body. And that's a very, very important point. Do you want to take us back to young Jane? Who is young Jane, and where did she grow up, and how did she end up in this big New York City?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I lived there basically my entire life. I went to school in Greenville, North Carolina at East Carolina University. Again, I went to school for musical theater, and so when I left, I actually worked at a resort in Florida for about 5 months and ended up moving back to Raleigh because that was when I was like, okay, I'm done with performing. What is next? And then I loved the gym. I was kind of in this routine, so I decided to get my personal training certification. And I didn't really plan on doing anything with it. I wasn't planning on becoming a trainer. I just desperately wanted the information. I felt like, kind of going back to what we were talking about with like the clickbait and the marketing myths and all this stuff, like that's all I was seeing. And it didn't really make sense to me when I was looking at it more objectively or just like analyzing it more. I was like, wait, this doesn't really fully make sense. Everyone is saying the same thing and also different things and promising different things, and the timelines are different. Like this actually doesn't really make sense. And so I was really confused about just what I should be doing in my routine. So I ended up getting my personal training certification. And when I finished that, that was when I was like, okay, where do I want to go? Where do I go from here? In the middle of a career change, a life change, just everything was kind of taking a 180 from me. So I decided that I would go where all my friends were, which was New York City. So I didn't really know how long I'd be here. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't have a job lined up. Like I had nothing, and then just kind of decided that I was going to make this jump and make it work. I'm definitely a very energetic, spiritual person, and just something about New York really called to me, and I think it just felt like the right next step. So that was the place that I went, me and my 2 suitcases.
I love that. Oh my gosh. People always tell me I'm brave, but this is really brave. Like, this girl needs organization before she's moving somewhere. Like, I need to, this needs to be lined up. Oh my gosh, that is so incredible. So you stayed with your friends in the first months then?
Yeah. It kind of lined up, and I'm a big believer that when you are deciding whether or not to do something and things start dropping into your lap, that is the universe telling you you're on the right path, and so you just need to trust that and believe that and follow that. And so when I was kind of debating whether or not I wanted to make this move, I was talking to one of my friends about it, and he was like, oh, well, actually, my roommate is about to leave for the last month of our lease, and so if you want to move in for the last month, then you can get settled. Their rent was pretty cheap, and they were just really desperate to have someone. And then he was like, and I need a roommate after that because I want to move out of this apartment. So if you want to move here for a month, and then we can spend that month finding a new apartment together. So it's just everything was working out. And then I got a job within my first week here. And yeah, so it's just one of those things where it was everything was lining up. So I'm like, sure, I guess this is right.
I take it. I mean, I totally agree. I think if you have a vision and if you decide, right? If you don't decide, things also cannot come to you. But if you decide that one path will now be the way, then you open up this opportunity of actually finding the solutions. Your hair is suggesting Irish. Your name is suggesting Belgium. Your visits are also suggesting Europe. So are you from Europe as well, or is that just a totally wrong imagery?
Yeah, so my hair is fake. I'm secretly blonde. No, I know. So, but my mom has red hair, and my older sister has red hair, so I was always being I was supposed to have red hair.
Yes.
My parents are Scottish and Irish, so, but not recently, if you look back at our ancestry. And then my last name is my husband's last name that I took on, and they are Lithuanian.
Oh.
And very Lithuanian, and recently moved to America.
That is interesting. Voort as a Lithuanian name.
I think so. I would have to double check.
Well, I mean, then we're learning something new, everybody here. What was you said your partner.
Grant, yes.
When did you get together, and how was that journey?
Grant and I met when I was 19 and he was 18. He's a year younger than me. We went to the same school. He's also an actor, so he was in the acting program. So that's how we met. We knew each other for like 3 years before we started dating. Kind of had this like on again, off again situation, you know, right person, wrong time, I guess. And then before my senior year, we got together, we started dating, we did a summer contract together. So it was amazing. And my family still goes to this beach every year. We've been going since I was a kid. So every year we ended up like going back to the place where we fell in love. And so it's really fun. I know we just got back actually. So it's so great to go there every year and be able to be like, oh, this is where we fell in love. And then I moved to New York, and Grant was actually going to move to LA, but ended up moving to New York as well. And then we eloped in 2022. So we're coming up on our 4-year wedding anniversary.
Wow, beautiful. That is so amazing. Do you think meeting your life partner made some of the jumps that you did, for sure, easier, or it changed something in your own mental state?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like moving and making our big move, it was definitely a big decision because I had moved earlier. He still had a year left of school, and he was planning on moving to LA. So that was a big decision, I think more so on his part of whether or not he wanted to move to LA or New York. And ultimately, he decided to move to New York. He just liked the city a little bit better. So that was a harder choice, I think, for both of us. And we had only been dating for, a couple years at that point. So, we're in that phase of, and we were young, so it's like, what are we doing? Do we want to live together? Do we want to do long distance? So that was a difficult decision for both of us, but we both love New York. It's New York or nowhere for us. And then starting my own business was an easier decision because I had a partner that I was with. It can be scary to leave your full-time job and to take a risk on yourself. And Grant's always been my number one supporter, even now opening the studio, and we're married. So it's really like a, family decision that we had to make on that. And, do we want to take this financial risk? Do I want to be working these hours? And, so he's always been just so supportive with that.
That's so beautiful. I also found that if women in my life found the partner that would actually support them, they got so much better and braver and more courageous and more shinier, because something about that, like making it together, we're all fighting in life, okay? Like, and you're obviously like landlords, clients, partners, but having someone on your side, I feel like that made it a little bit maybe like possible, or that's at least my interpretation of things.
Absolutely.
You just got to be a Nike athlete.
Oh, yes.
If I'm allowed to share that.
Yes,
I don't know. Big fan of the brand as well.
Oh, yeah.
How is that process going? It's like you needed to be a personal trainer. Introduce me to it. It sounds so cool.
Yeah, Nike is an amazing brand. They have a lot of different branches. So I'm an affiliate with them, which is great. I guess I'm halfway through my 2nd year with them. They're awesome. Like, they're just like a really cool brand all around. I feel like they do really great outreach, and it's nice being in like a big city with them because I feel like so close to some of their big activations, which is so much fun. And they're just, I feel like, really take a risk on like smaller creators and smaller people. So I'm really grateful to be able to work with them. Yeah.
That's amazing. Did that network also help you to get to more clients here in the city, or do you feel that that's a different perspective onto the industry?
Yeah, I feel like maybe yes and no. I think that, when you're attached to a bigger brand, I definitely think like from a business perspective, it helps to kind of validate you. And, movement and mindset has grown so much in the last year, so even a year and a half ago, we were just starting to look for a studio space, and we weren't really sharing that online yet. It's really, really cool to have been able, I guess, to have grown alongside them too, and to know that like they were in my corner from day one.
You said movement and mindset started as this workbook at first,
Mm-hmm.
but you were a personal trainer at that time.
Yes.
When did you make the move to make it like your main business? And what is the difference with your own space now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it started as an ebook, and then I moved into what I thought was going to become an app. This was like a really crazy way to go about this, but basically after the ebook, about like 2 months later, I wanted to keep it going and to be able to make it like a progressive strength training program. So you would have bought a membership through my website, and then you would have had access to a private Instagram page where I would upload workouts for every day of the week. And it was crazy. Like, genuinely, it was very unhinged. Like, the most, like, backdoor kind of way to do anything. But we were balling on a budget, and we got it done. So I did that for, I think, maybe 2 years I did that. So it was this combination of doing this online program, plus also I had my in-person clients. And I just, what I really wanted to do at the end of the day was help women feel more confident in their fitness. I really wanted to build community and have people have a space where they felt like they could walk in the door and feel welcomed and feel a part of something, and have friends and, just feel good in the space that they were in. And so there came a time where I was like, okay, I need to either go all in on the online thing or I need to go all in on the in-person, because spreading myself between these two is kind of making them both stagnant. So when I thought back to my personal why with the brand, it just made more sense to go the in-person route. And so I stopped the online thing and totally went full in. And that's when small group training really picked up. And I started growing out this idea of opening the studio.
No, I mean, you kind of still did not end your online personality, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But I think going from this perspective of like, I really want to do it in person and I'm the person to like train in person, I think that's a big step. I think there's a lot of personal trainers who are like, oh no, like it's going to be online and I'm making the training plans. And that's a valid business model if you have, the reach. But I also think that there's something to be said about using the in-person space for real transformations. Why did you decide that the small group training is the way to go? And maybe what's your insights into that concept and like what's happening in those groups?
Yeah, definitely. When I was doing personal training, I felt like I was seeing the same type of client over and over and over again, dealing with the same issue. And in that, they were doing very similar workouts. They all were struggling with the same things. And then I feel like when they could see someone else doing it, it was like, oh, that's what a deadlift is supposed to look like. So they didn't have that opportunity to learn from watching others. And then on like a more personal note, they were all looking for community and they all were looking to make more friends. And New York, for being such a big city, is also really difficult to have community. And we're all running all over the place all the time. So it's difficult to find spaces where you can feel really grounded, and just take a moment to focus on yourself and to better yourself. So I started small group training just once a week with some of my clients, and we were looking to solve that exact problem. So when I started small group training, it solved kind of all those issues. So we were dealing with we were able to grow the program so that they were actually hitting their the goal that they wanted to get through in personal training. We were able to do that in the small group. Plus, they were able to learn by watching others, overcome challenges together. Like when you're in class and someone else asks a question, you're like, oh, I didn't even think to ask that question. But yes, that is such a good question. So you have that outlet as well. And then, of course, the community aspect. A lot of our clients hang out outside of class. We go to each other's birthday parties. I'm going to one of my clients' housewarming parties with a few of our, so it's stuff like that. Like that, finding that village and that community can be so challenging. And I find that something like small group, where you're vulnerable with each other, you're overcoming problems together, you're answering questions, and you're able to really cheer each other on and watch each other succeed, solves all of those issues and kind of puts it into this really fun workout where we can all, again, just like hang out and also get better.
Yeah. And so I studied group dynamics a lot. And there's a lot to be said about this unconscious dynamics that happen when you have a group. Like the questions you just mentioned. Like I wanted to ask that question, but I kind of didn't formulate it. But I also want to know, and like this group, and then what you can really create is this unspoken, very safe space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't need to speak about the rules of the space. You don't need to speak about what it means. But, like we can also talk about the guy we're dating, and
Yes.
get the conscious intelligence of the group. Like we all talk about, oh yeah, I've seen that before. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's also what it is about. You are speaking of women very often, and I also know that movement and mindset is only a women's gym.
Mm-hmm.
What is your consideration behind that?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to my original clients and what they were struggling with and what they felt like they didn't have a space with. Most commercial gyms are made with men at the forefront, and you can feel that from the second you walk in the door. You can feel that with the colors that are painted on the wall. You can feel that with the types of machines that are used. You can feel that with the music that's played and what's on the screen and the toiletries that are allotted in the bathroom and all of those things. So you really feel that from the second that you walk in. And I wanted to do the complete opposite of that and build a space where you can feel that this space was built with women at the forefront. And I think that both spaces are important, and people at the end of the day should just feel comfortable in their gym setting. And I know from my point of view and from a lot of my clients' point of view, a lot of the gyms that we thought were the only option didn't really have that same effect.
Yeah, and also, right, like towards what we were speaking about earlier, that women are sold this idea that like going to a gym makes you muscular, or all of these things, right? And then we end up at these Pilates studios or these hot yoga classes, and they're the reason why our bones are so weak, and we still don't have muscles, we still don't grow muscles. And so I feel like having a space that makes us feel like women and accepted, but is still actually what is good for health and for muscle growth. And I think that's very, very beautiful. Did you ever train men as well?
Yeah. So I've had male clients, and movement and mindset is open to everyone. The most important thing is just that people feel respected and safe in the space. Our most important, I guess, idea when we were coming up with the studio concept was that we wanted it to feel just different, like a little bit softer, more comfortable. We keep calling it like our eclectic friend's living room or like a coffee shop that just so happens to be a gym. So that's the most important part. It's just that we have a space where people feel welcomed, and it just feels like a different setting than your typical gym.
And it totally does. I can very much confirm that the space is where,
Yeah, my favorite reaction is when someone walks in and they look around and then they go, oh, this is a gym? And I'm like, yes, that is the reaction we wanted.
Yeah, or I think mine was also good. We're just gonna do some pull-ups now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like theoretically, I'm here to eat donuts, yeah? But no, it was not donuts, to eat bagels.
Yes.
But, let's just do some pull-ups. And we were teaching one person pull-ups.
Yes. No, literally, I was like, I love this. This is the best moment. This is exactly what I envisioned.
Your social media following is also pretty extent.
Oh,
I think
thank you.
to summarize it, you have over 30,000 people watching you on different channels. Is there any message that you give them that you want to give to your followers daily, or what are you representing on those platforms?
Yeah, I think that there's two things. First, I want to educate people on strength training and talk about, many of us are sold this part of fitness that we've already covered and talked about today. And I want to show people that there's a whole other side of fitness, and like you could literally just work out to feel good today. And that is the only reason you have to work out. That, it doesn't have to be all of these crazy challenges and like 75 hard and, having these epic aesthetic goals. Like you can totally do all these things, but also you could just work out to feel good today. So that's one half of it. And then the other half of it is that I share a lot about the business side and just being a female founder in New York City, and being, a female founder of a small business. As a small business, a lot goes wrong. We have to get really creative. And so I like sharing those things too, and just taking people along with the journey. People, I think, who have followed me from like, I used to do YouTube vlogs like way back in the day. And so if people who have followed me from back then have really been here for the journey of even before the ebook. Like they've been there as I got my personal training certification and have grown all the way up to opening up my own studio today. So they've seen a lot. They've seen it all.
But that's growth. And, you know, like, I think it's so rewarding to see you making those dreams happen. And I think also sharing not only the, oh, let's do this one like 5-minute training session, but also sharing the hardships that came with what you do today and like every single step of the way. I think that's what also creates confidence for them, right? Like you didn't start being amazing and super believing, you know, out of nowhere, but right. you are now, you know, like you're very brave. If we kind of round this up a little bit, I would love for you to tell me one of your client stories that touched you deeply in your past experience from maybe your group session, or maybe it was before that.
Yeah. I have one client. A lot of my clients are beginners. I would say most people come to us as a beginner. This client did not. This client actually started, she had a fitness journey before us and she ended up getting injured. And so she had stepped away from strength training for a long time. And I remember her in her first like few months of small group training was really, really nervous. And so she would cut herself short, is how I would describe it. Like she was always going for the lightest weights and always going for, you know, the lower amount of reps. And I could just tell that she was very timid in what she was doing. And I love working with clients like that because we're often so focused on the movement part. We don't focus so much on the mindset part. And that is such a big part. It's 50%, right, of what we do. And so what we were able to do with her is build up her confidence. So something that we're not going to always do is I'm not always going to tell you to pick up a heavier weight. I'm not always going to tell you to, you know, do more reps or, you know, whatever. A big part of what I like to do with clients is just tell you you're doing a great job with what you're doing right now, because that confidence and knowing that you're capable is step one. So over the years, we've really been able to build her up. Now she is one of the strongest people in the gym. And I mean, I love when new people come in the class because she's always the first person to be like, hey, how are you? Like she always introduces herself, makes people feel really welcomed. And so it's really cool to like look back at her. I still have videos of her on my phone from like way back in the day, and she's been with me for so long now, so I've really seen her through like her entire journny. And we even talked like a few weeks ago and she was saying, you know, we were doing barbell back squats and she was like, this is crazy because this is the exercise where I hurt myself and where I got injured. I was so nervous to get back to this, and now she's lifting so much weight and able to do it with like confidence. And even when things don't feel right, she has the confidence to say something felt off there, let's reset, let's take some weight off. Because I think it's also, you know, it's great to be adding on more weight and to be getting stronger. It also takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-awareness to be like, today's not the day for that. Let's take off some weight. Let's slow it down. Let me take the lower end of the reps. And so I find that when a client is able to get to that point, that's when we've like fully hit their highest potential in the gym.
Thank you, Jane, for doing the work that you do.
Oh, thank you.
It is incredible. You do not only build up people, you build up their muscles and their mind. And I am so grateful to have met you, because you go through the hardships yourself so that you can bring 2,000, 5,000 others to the place that you're at. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
that was really sweet.
For being here. And if you ever want to visit her studio in New York City, please mention.
Yes. Come on by, come hang out. You can follow us at movement.and.mindset. You can follow me on my personal page at Jane K. Vandervoort. And yeah, head to our website and come on by. We'd love to see you.
Thank you for listening today.